been taking my time to get perfection. Sometimes you got me feeling so weightless. Stop lying, I've been taking my time to get perfection. Sometimes I need to just take a ride away.
So, good day. We're going to be doing the bearings on the rear hub of the matiz. So, let me switch around and show you. So you'll notice when you take your hub off, the front bearing comes out. Now you got to get the back one out. So, first things first, get a screwdriver and just pry this outer casing out. Be careful, especially if you're reusing it, as I am. So, get a screwdriver underneath and just try and work it around. It will come up. There we go, it's coming. And don't do that. Flip it up. So that's the outer casing off. All I do is tap these edges back down. So next is to get that bearing out. That just pops out like that. So you'll notice the rear bearing is bigger than the front. So bigger bearing goes to the rear, smaller bearing goes to the front. So we need to get the bearing shells out. So what you want to do, you want to find the lip, what's just inside. Let's see if we can get it. Take your screwdriver down, you'll feel the lip there, all the way around. That's your shell. So what we're going to do, I use a flat screwdriver and I try and put the end onto it like that. Not that way, on the edge. Get it on. Grab the hammer. Couple of taps. And just keep moving it around. Bloody rain. Yeah, so when you just tap it all the way around. Till it pops out like that. So that's the outside one. So the flat bit there goes inside the hub, and your bearings sit in this bit here, just in there. So it's time to take the rear shell out. So flip it over. Exactly the same. Screwdriver down till you find the lip. Absolutely covered in crap. Get it clean out of it. You'll see the lip. Get a screwdriver on it. And just tap it. The rear one is more awkward to get to, the lip. But as soon as you got it started, the better. There we go, moving that. Right, you'll get up to a point where it's flat on the table here, so you can't knock it out anymore. So what you want to do, hold it like that. You can see this. Turn it. As you can see, it's starting to come. It's a bit awkward trying to hold it so you can see. See, it's coming out now. So just keep moving your screwdriver around. Try and get it out level. There you go. That's the inner one out. Don't forget the flat bit goes inside it. So that's them out. Next thing to do is get the studs out. As on the new ones, don't come with studs, so you need to get these studs out. So what I do is put one of the bolts on. So the stud is about 2 mil from the top. Right, let me just move it. Like I say, put the nut on, so the stud is about 2 mil from the top. And all you want to do, hit it, just a quick blunt, a couple of times. There we go. That's that one. So there's one. There's one stud out. And you do this with all four. So get it down so it's just a couple of mil off the top. There's the next one gone. There's the next one. So that's the studs out the old one. This is the new one. As you can see, no studs. So before I put the studs back in, I want to put the rear bearing in. At least then I can hammer it flat without the studs getting in the way. So I'll just give these bearings and the outer casings a good clean and I'll be back. Right, so the bearings and casings are all clean. So before I put that in, I want to just stick a bit of clean grease just inside, just to help it go down. I'm using the proper bearing stuff. Yeah, so just stick a bit of grease around it just to help it go down smoother. So what I use, 36mm big socket, stick it on top like that. Now the trick is to try and get it level. As you're knocking it in, you stick your socket on, make sure it's all level and give it a good tap. So it goes in like that. So it's just at the top here, and you need to seat it back down. There is a lip you'll be able to see just inside. It needs to sit against that. So what you do, you suck it on like that, make sure it sits level like that, and just keep giving it a good whack. Noise change. When the noise changes, you know it's seated. Just like screw around. Make sure. So that's one seated. See from there. That casing seated. You'll be able to see just a lip there. It needs to sit against it. As you're hitting it, you will hear the noise difference. You like do a ring, then you know you've reached the end. So that's that one. So cleaned up the bearing. So what I'm going to do now is grease up the bearing. Make sure it's proper stacked. Try and get it all in. They pushed it all in there. So you want it all pushed in. Do the same on the other side. Pushed in to the gaps as much as you can. Right, time to put your cover back on. All I do is put a lot of grease in there as well. No problem when you got a tube. Trying to get your fingers in to get it. So yeah, push all your grease in there like that. Do it like that. Grease full. Stick that on there. Then all I do with this, get a 34mm, a bit thinner, stick it on into the gap and just give it a couple of light taps to make sure it seats nicely and flush around. So, there we go. That's the rear bearing done. So now I'll switch it over. Put a bit of cloth down. I'll just tap in the front cover now. Same as the back. Put plenty of grease. Put plenty of grease around it. And all inside. Just to help it go down. And you're doing exactly the same as you did to the back. So remember, the flat bit goes inside. Suck it on. It's going. Right, when you got it flat there, my socket don't do it. Flat there, my socket don't do it. So I have to get a thinner one. Just to sit on it, 34. 34 just to sit on, nicely like that. Give it a couple of good whack. Get it going. There we go, it's going. Till it seats. Did you hear the noise change? A different tone? So you know it's seated. So there we go. That's the outer one seated in. All seated in nicely. So, next thing is to get the studs in. So, I'll move you back down to the bottom. Right, so studs. All I've done is put a bit of grease around the stud. I put a piece of wood underneath, see there? And I put the holes either side of the wood. So I can drop these in like that, and they'll go down so far. So drop all four in like this. So all four's in. Grab the hammer. Grab the extension bar. So I've got the hammer and an extension bar. So the first thing I do is, let's see if I can get it. Right, try my best. Right, you see how they're sticking out like that. So all you want to do, knock them in. Sorry about the camera angle, but You get the gist of it anyway. What do you do? Knock them in. Right. Let's try this handle. Alright. Like I said, easier. Get the hammer, hold it tight. Knock them in. Like that. Then you get the bar resting on top. And finish summing. There we go. 4 studs in, bearings in. There we go. That's your studs in, rear bearing in. Time to put on the car and put the front bearing in. So you want to make sure it's all nice and clean inside here. All rid of all the old junk out of it. So, next thing is, let's stick the drum on. But first of all, let's stick some grease in there. Some grease around that. That's nice there. Then we'll try and stick the drum on. Then you might have to move your brake pads up and down to get it on. That's on that. So yeah, next thing will be to put the rear, well the front bearing in. Yeah, so make sure you greased up your bearing nicely. Stick your bearing in. And set in properly there. So next thing to do is put your bolt on. Sorry, next thing to do is don't forget your big washer. Slide that on. Like that. This bolt will go clean. Put your bolt on. And your bolt's like finger tight. Now come in with the socket. Not too tight, just so it nips slightly. You need to line up the hole a bit more, just a tad more. There we go. You can see the hole on top of your spindle here, and that is where your pin goes. So just straighten up this pin a bit. Pin goes sliding in like that. Slide your pin in. Then you want to pin your pin around. This is just to stop the bolt from coming off. So there we go. Next thing is, we'll clean the cap out. There we go, with grease on. Stick that back on there. Give it a couple of light taps with the hammer. Make sure we get it seated. There we go. So, that's how you do bearings on the rear drum. So that's all back together, back end's back together. All I've got to do is the front now. I'll film that as well, stick it up. Then I'll bleed the whole system through. Put all fresh oil and that in. So yeah, get in there. Don't forget to subscribe and like. See you in the next vid.